Welcome to the Pathways to Prosperity podcast, where we explore personal, professional, and financial success stories of top achievers. Let's dive in.
Hey guys, welcome to Pathways to Prosperity for Entrepreneurs, the show where we spotlight innovators driving meaningful change. I'm your host, Tristan Fulham. Today's our guest, Chris Rux, a partner at Cherry Beckhart in Tampa, whose expertise spans life, science, hospitality, and even athletics. He's more than just a CPA. Chris is helping clients with strategy, operations, and key connections across the business community. He's also a proud husband and father of three, and a coach, bringing heart, humility, and hard-earned wisdom to everyone he comes encounter with. Sorry, Chris, I know I kind of
It's
botched
all
the
good,
last
man.
half.
It's all good. You had to laugh a little bit at how awesome I sound from that
Yeah,
intro.
right.
But
Exactly. So how are you doing, Chris? Like, where are you hailing from?
I'm in Tampa. I've lived here going on, I'm probably about 20 years now.
Okay.
Came from I'm born and raised in Alabama.
Okay.
And then lived in New Orleans. I went to school there and worked there. And then after honestly, after Hurricane Katrina, found myself looking for a new place to live and followed a girl down here and ended up marrying her.
So you went from one hurricane area to another, huh?
100%. Yep.
Just for her, just for her. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. So a lot of people want to know what a CPA is. So what is your
hmm
best definition of understanding what that does? And I mean, you also say you're an auditor too, right? So
hmm
how are you able to really bring that and what does that look like?
So, I mean, that's a really good question that I don't think I've ever been asked. No, which that's okay. So I guess there's kind of two definitions, right?
Mhm.
If you will, of what a CPA is. I mean, one is your compliance, your focused accountant, right?
Right.
In terms of whether it's taxes, audits, financial statements audits, or there's many nuances, which is incredibly important, right?
Right.
Everybody's got to file taxes no matter what. Generally, once you get a little bit past the level of complication that TurboTax or those others can handle, that's kind of where we come in. Really help people navigate through what is some very complex stuff. But just as if not more important, I would say, CPAs and an advisor, a confidant,
Mhm.
to business owners, or C-suite of companies, in that in business, no matter what type of business you're in, it all centers around kind of the same thing. Cash is king, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
being able to track, understand, where your expenses are going. Are they the right, types? Do they track with um, competitors or things like that? Or, I mean, I had a client actually this morning. He just randomly emailed about, hey, how do I structure this so I can stop having to terminate an employee in this company just to move them over to this company when it's all the same,
Mm,
and it's just, nuances like that. So we're,
right.
you know, that's what we're there for. Yes, the compliance piece of it is important, but it's using or leveraging our insight into so many different businesses and success or otherwise to advise clients on from a financial standpoint.
So everyone wants to have that guy who's able to really, like you said, I mean, businesses really thrive, and once they're able to really go through you with your expertise, they're able to go through certain avenues. So, like,
Mhm.
how did you even get into being a CPA? And like, what did you always knew you like a little kid? You're like, I'm gonna be a CPA, or like what
I
would
don't,
that look like? That
yeah, I
back.
don't think anybody grows up with that dream per se. Um, no, I mean, honestly, when I went up to college, at first I was pre-med,
Okay.
and realized that I don't like blood, other people's blood. So I did,
Yeah.
pretty quickly realized this whole medicine thing isn't going to work out. And so then uh, my grandfather was in business, is a COO a couple different companies over time span. And so I went to the business school,
Okay.
and then I, kind of looked around and, thought through what makes the most sense. What's the, where am I going to get the best understanding of a business?
Right.
And that works with my brain, if you will. And that was finance and accounting. So I mean,
Okay.
that's kind of how I got into it, because it made sense and I thought it would be worthwhile. Did I think I would be in still public accounting, you know, to this day when I was in college? No, I did not. But I like it. I enjoy every day is different. And monotony does not work for me at all.
Yeah. See, I I feel like sometimes I thrive in unstructured chaos.
Hmm.
Some people just don't. I mean, I
They
just
don't.
no. You don't seem like a person who does does that.
No, they don't. And I know, I mean, I know a lot of them. I've worked with a lot of them, and I'm like, yes, all right, here we go. We'll just do this and this and this. And they're like,
Mm.
oh, I need structure. I'm like, well, you ain't getting it from me. Sorry.
Yeah. See, that's the thing is like once you're able to really think on your feet and being able to like really understand like, hey, this is what I can do, this is my
Hmm.
limits, and then you're able to really push that to other people or
Hmm.
even be able to really structure ways for you to really be successful. A lot of people, I feel like that's like the hardest thing, right? With a
Hmm.
business, with your whole lifespan, it's not something it's easily attained early on, right?
Oh, correct, correct. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It takes, linear time, right?
Mhm.
And experience. But I think you nailed actually one really key component in my mind is that you have to understand what you know and what you don't know,
Yeah.
right? And admit, be a little bit humble. It's not really humble, it's just honesty
Yeah.
that you don't know everything. And that's
Yeah.
completely okay. But when you're, an advisor or whatever it may be, you can't just say, I don't know. Say, I don't
Right.
know, but let me see if I can, find someone that can help you, right? Or
Right.
can get you an answer that you need. But that's better than just assuming, right?
Yeah.
That's where you lose credibility.
So, being in the CPA and like this whole industry, what do you feel like really sets you apart from others out there? I mean, there's a lot, right? It's a lot of competition. There's a lot of people who do the same things. Like, what do you find not only sets you apart, but also comes easy to you?
Um, I would say it's actually one and the same. And now it doesn't necessarily set me apart as that much, I guess, but I'm a very relationship driven person, right?
Okay.
Real relationships, like not just a relationship with a business, the on paper, right?
Hmm.
Debits always equal credits. That's great. But people do business with people, so I like to develop before a business relationship. I like to know about them as a person. Their family, do they have kids? What do their kids do? I mean, there's commonality everywhere. And I just find it much more advantageous in the long run to do business at a personal level, if you will,
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
opposed to just just at the corporate level, because inevitably we're all human, right?
Right.
Mistakes happen. Okay. And um as long as you don't let them happen a lot, you know,
Right.
you've got an ability, if you have a real relationship, to, I mean, just apologize, admit
Mhm.
what went wrong. And generally speaking, you're forgiven and, fix it, move on, versus a, transactional type relationship. It never ends up working that way.
Right.
So that, I think from a set apart, or, recipe for success, if you will, uh, that comes easy to me, right? Those interpersonal relationships, one-on-one, right?
Mhm.
It doesn't necessarily come easy for everyone else, um, which is okay, within the, this field. But as I tell, the guys that and girls that work with me, you know, here's how I approach situations. But, you know, what I suggest you do is learn how other people approach situations, and then pick and choose what may or may not work for your personality, your experience, your history, and then make it your own. Because if you just try to copy me or the person, sits next door or whatever, you're doing it their way,
Yeah.
not your way. And that is not a recipe for success.
Yeah. It's like I'm learning slowly. It's like you have to be able to perceive other views and
Mm-hmm.
not your perspective. I
Mm-hmm.
think that it's really hard nowadays, right? We always see social media, like we talked earlier, that you might see this guy who's making crazy amount of money. They're saying they can make this in a few months, and you're already your perspective on them is already like you think to yourself, am I really that good, right? Am I good enough?
Mm-hmm.
Am I able to go there? But once you see things as a whole, you put yourself in other people's shoes and understand that, yeah, he might say he can do this,
Mm-hmm.
but let's be honest here. I mean, a lot that kind of money doesn't. I mean, it can happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not that anything's possible, but it's really about the hard work. It's really about like what was the groundwork that he did before, because the only thing we see
Right.
is his wins and not the struggles and tribulations.
Uh, the right or the most important lessons, right? Is the
Hmm.
the trouble and tribulations, the foot faults, the failures, if you want to call it that, the losses, right? If you get back to sports, that's where you learn.
Yeah.
Winning every game, yes, that's great. You get a trophy, but you generally don't learn from winning.
Hmm.
Where truly you learn from losing, and how you can do better, or how you kind of compose yourself when you lose. Um, and that goes business, sports. I make a lot of sports analogies, but because I think business and sports are very similar. Um, but yeah, you're 100% right. That could happen, and that person may have made X amount of dollars in 3 months.
Yeah.
But it's kind of about expectations. If you see that and expect to do the same, well, you're missing probably 90% of the entire story, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So, what has been the biggest challenges so far? Like, is it like overcoming the growth? Is it overcoming like what is something that's looking like for you that's been like that for you? Like one of the biggest challenges you've had to overcome in these years to help your business
Hmm.
thrive?
Yeah, it's a good question. I would say, one of the biggest challenges is it's kind of part of what I mentioned a little bit earlier, is that understanding my own personal limitations, right?
Hmm.
Um, of what I know, what I don't know, what I'm good at, and what I'm not as good at, right? Um, and that's kind of, um, it takes a lot of, I would say, like an introspective look at
Yeah.
yourself, an
Hmm.
honest assessment, which when I was younger, um, I was unwilling, perhaps unable to do that, and be honest with myself. And
Yeah.
if you can't be honest with yourself, I mean, how can you be with anyone else? So that, from a personal growth standpoint, I think was one of the biggest challenges, or things to overcome, that I had to overcome. And candidly, I see that, uh, no matter what generation, it doesn't matter. Everyone who's young, you get out of college, you it's almost as if you don't want to admit that you don't know everything, as if
Yeah.
that would potentially make you look bad. It's that personal growth to realize that it's okay, and that's fine, right? So then, like I said, find the things you do well, um, you know, focus on that, and then the things that you don't do as well, mitigate the impact, right? You
Yeah.
can't change a weakness per se, and a weakness is just a label, but you can mitigate the impact, and
Mhm.
that's success. You're not going to be perfect, but you can strive for that.
Yeah, that's the thing is like we're not really based on our wins. I feel like, yeah, everyone sees the wins, but it's really just learning right now. I feel like that's
Hmm.
that's the reason why we make mistakes. Is to learn from them,
Yeah.
not to make them
Hmm.
again You keep making them again, then you become insane, right? Insanity.
Right, right. Yeah.
Having the same thing over and over again, trying to get a different outcome, it doesn't happen. That's
Right.
literally so. As we start, talking about personal growth and the planning, it's really interesting to consider how, successful individuals like yourself really try to plan ahead, right? I mean, like I said,
Hmm.
this wins and losses really help you determine what you like to invest in more. Like, is it more
Hmm.
on your life or business or career? So my question is
Hmm.
like, how do you apply this foresight to your personal investments, whether it's your financial or even yourself? Like, how do you do that?
Hmm. No, no, that's once again, a question I've never been asked. And that's all right. Um, you know, so I would say kind of twofold. The first being, um, I personally, this is just my mindset. I never worry about the future, and what may come, and thereby arguably cloud my judgment as to a decision being made today,
Hmm.
um, because the future doesn't exist as of right now, so
Right.
there's nothing I can worry about, or concern myself with. But in terms of personal investments, and whether that's financially or otherwise, I look at kind of two things. Personally, what's the highest and best use of my time?
Right.
Okay, time is the most precious commodity on earth. You can't recreate it, all that kind of stuff. So you know, could I work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in
Mhm.
this office? Of course. But when you know, when I'm on my last breath and I look back, right? Do I want to think about, man, you really worked hard all those hours. That was great. No, I want to think about, the impact I made on my children, or a neighbor or whatever it may be, because that's to me is what really matters. And that's my personal opinion, right?
Okay.
Um, and from an investment standpoint, I look at not only the short-term opportunity, if you will,
Mhm.
but it's kind of the same thing, highest and best use. If there is an opportunity to make a very quick buck, I'm very judicious because I don't. It's rare that come with strings, right?
Right.
Um,
Especially now, right now, especially the market right
Yeah,
now.
oh yeah, exactly. So I look at, all right, well, how is this gonna, not just numbers and, kind of on a scorecard, if you will,
Mhm.
ROI and things like that, but also, all right, well, are there ways to, look at this transaction from a legacy point of view, right? I mean, at the
Right.
end of the day, I want to turn over anything and everything that I have to my loved ones when
Mhm.
I'm, gone. So can I kind of plan ahead for that inevitable? It's a little morbid, but we're all going
No.
to die.
Yeah.
It happens. If it doesn't, then wow, good for you. Um,
Yeah. Hey, I don't know. Now they're doing cryo freezing, so
that's true. That's true. You'll never catch me doing that because when I'm going, I'm going. But like structuring whether it's a real estate transaction or a business investment, whatever it may be, can
Mhm.
I do that within a structure that can benefit my children and maybe take that out of my personal estate so that you know shielding some of those taxes, you know on, and that's very, hopefully very forward looking, but
Mhm.
it kind of, you have to do it in that manner to get the advantage of
Right.
it. Otherwise you can wait until you're a couple years out from, but planning's come and gone by that time.
Well, and that's the point of doing like your trust, right? And making
Hmm.
able to really do estate planning early. So the thing is that I'm learning slowly but surely, being in the space and
Hmm.
being able to really be knowledgeable. It's like you have to set yourself up and say that your business is going to be a multi-billion dollar company.
Hmm.
So start making your LLC, start making your corporation, start putting
Hmm.
things in trusts, like your house in trust, And what I want other people to understand that that's a whole thing that we don't understand. And I definitely want to do one day like a podcast where, or like an episode where we talk about that. We talk about
Hmm.
how we're able to structure things. I'm not really knowledgeable, but maybe you're
Hmm.
someone, obviously you're in this field, like I mean, and if you don't know, then we'll do a phone line, right?
Yeah.
We'll phone
Yeah.
in, we'll do
Phone a friend. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
we'll
Like a
phone a
millionaire.
friend.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and that's the point though, right? You're supposed to have people you trust.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're not saying that you should do XYZ because I'm not a professional, but this is just insights and guides that I would
Correct.
want other people to really take advantage of.
Absolutely. And I'd be happy to take part in it, and would phone a friend, because there's a lot of things that I don't know,
Mhm.
legal nuances and things like that. I'm not an attorney by any means, nor do I want to be. Um, but there's commonality, I think, amongst everyone, to have that level of planning and forward thinking, so that if and when things do come to fruition, maybe it's not a multi-billion-dollar business, but maybe it's more than a dollar, right?
Mhm.
Um, that you have something, in place ahead of time, and you're thoughtful about it, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you want to be, I mean, I say in general, you want to be the Rockefellers, not the
Yeah,
Vanderbilts.
exactly.
Okay. Vanderbilts, they got, a school and a couple other things, but that's pretty much all they have to that family's name, which was the most wealthy family in the world at one
Yeah.
time, right? Rockefellers, a little different. I mean, it's a very common analogy, I guess. Well, at least in my space, um, to think about, and it really does make a difference in the long run.
Does being the Rockefellers of your family should be like a key term, right? I feel
Hmm.
like because it not only brings substance, but also shows them how generational wealth is being created and how it's recreatable, right? If it's
Hmm.
something successful, that's what it has to be. It has to be recreatable for a common person to come in there, kind of like
Hmm.
instructions.
Hmm.
And it's the instructions that a common person or an everyday person, they don't have the luxury to understand, so they have to dig through social media, and then you have to dig
Right.
through a lot of false proverbs or false
Hmm.
information to really dig into what you need to do, and that's where you come in, right? That's where
Yeah.
you're able to really show them that it is just as possible, if not
Hmm.
doable right now.
100%. And on that note, do not take financial advice or tax advice from TikTok,
Yeah,
because I
exactly.
guarantee
Exactly.
it ain't right.
Oh
Um,
no.
yeah, I mean, it could be, you can give it a shot, but no, you're right. Personally, I came, from, a family. Both parents worked, 40 plus hours to, you know, uh, struggle to put my brother and I, food on the table, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
It's not like I come from I'm from Alabama. There's not that much wealth, right? I'm joking. I'm
Hey,
joking,
I'm
everyone
from
from
Tennessee
Alabama.
now, right?
Oh, now
So,
we didn't
oh,
talk about that.
yeah, I
That is
know.
the
Yeah,
that is
I didn't bring that up. I already heard Alabama.
um, but I mean, it by all means, having a semblance of uh being better off than the generation before you, whatever that may be, whether it's wealth, whether it's knowledge, education. There's, I firmly believe everyone should have a goal, right,
Yeah,
to move forward, right, because you can't stand still, or you're going backwards. As cliche as that sounds, it's true.
true.
So, improving yourself, in whether that's, again, status, which is always, generally speaking, money, but it could be education, it could be,
Yeah,
how you give back to the community, right? Whatever, whether that's charity or otherwise, you can make a mark on this, place, that can be incredibly lasting, and then at the same time fulfilling to you, and no matter what walk of life you come from,
that's the point. It's just
I think.
really, yeah. It's like the movie Pay It Forward, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know if a lot of people even know that movie, but it's a great movie. It's
Uh,
really it's like a snowball effect. It really,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. And it's funny is, I tell, some of the younger folks that just start, when they're asking about whether it's business development or something like that. I'm like, you want to know kind of the secret sauce? Just be a good person. and
Yeah.
offer help, right? If somebody asks you for something or asks it for advice, give it to them. Don't ask for anything in return,
Mm-hmm.
and then just move on. And
Yeah.
if you never get anything in return, that's okay, right? You did a good deed. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Um, but just give freely, and it's like that, like the movie, which I have seen. It comes back in droves,
It
right?
does. So, as wrapping up this interview, do you have any exciting plans that's going to be happening in the next few weeks, 6 to 12 months, possibly at all?
I do actually. So my son, it was invited to train with Real Madrid for
Oh,
um
really?
yeah, for I think it's like
Wow.
2 weeks this summer. Um,
That's
so
he
which is
must be
pretty
really good
sweet.
then. He must be.
He's he didn't get it from me, but yeah, he's a good athlete. But so I'm taking him over there, and then my wife and girls are coming as well. Um, and it, it, I'm excited for
Yeah.
him, just for the experience, right? I'm not expecting, he's the next Messi. That would be sweet. Because that means I retire
I was like,
early,
I
right?
know this guy.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, I retire early if that's the
Yeah,
case.
yeah,
But but rather, I mean, just that experience,
yeah,
that he'll have, that memory, that we'll all have, I think is just awesome.
yeah.
So super excited about that. I need to learn a little bit of Spanish beforehand, but I'll figure that out.
Castilian Spanish is a lot different from Spain Spanish is a lot different from the Spanish in North America. It's
Yes,
very yeah.
yes. That's we actually had one of the guys. I mean, it's a long time ago. My high school basketball team. He was an exchange student
Hmm.
from Barcelona, and when he would speak versus what the teacher would speak, I'm like, you guys are that's not the same language. I don't know what you're talking about. You guys
Yeah,
need to get on the same page here. You're supposed to be Spanish. I
yeah.
don't
I was like, what is
understand.
this? It's kind of like you're speaking to a northerner and a redneck. So
Of course, yeah,
they're
yeah,
like they have like some things. They're like I don't know what are they saying.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I'm like, wait, yeah. My dad's from Wisconsin. He calls it a stop go light. I'm like,
Oh
it's
man.
a stoplight, Dad.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
what? Like, come on, what are you talking about here? But anyhow.
No, I'm actually a Real Madrid fan, so
Oh, sweet,
I'm actually really
nice.
jealous. Yeah, that's really cool. I'm really jealous. I'm not
I
that
think it'll be
good.
fun. I think it'll be fun, man. That's like I said, I'm excited about that. And then I think my daughter has something with dance, where we're going to New York. I mean, at my age with my children, seems all big plans revolve around them, which that's okay. I just get to go along.
That's the point, though, right? The memories
Oh
that
yeah.
you make, like you said, time is something we can't create in the past, right?
Hmm.
It's like now, and some people don't have that luxury to be with their kids, right?
Absolutely,
So as
absolutely.
long as you're
So
able to really cherish that.
yeah, count my blessings up 100%. You're right, especially when you put it in that context. I mean, I can't. No one can recreate that. If you miss it, and if you do, that's okay. I just hope that it was for a good reason. There's always good reasons. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
But either way, you can't. I would hope you can't live with regret, one way or another, because you can't do anything about it, right?
Yeah. That's a point.
Um, so um, anyhow, I mean, I hope that was helpful, informing. I don't know
No,
what
I
you
mean,
think.
no, I mean, like you shared all the tips and insights, not only who you are, but that's the thing is like how you carry yourself in your company. Like, I
Hmm.
mean, that's the thing is like people don't just do business with the company, they do business with you, right?
Right,
And the
right.
insights and tips you gave us was not only amazing, but it was genuine. And that's the only thing we can care for, especially nowadays in the how the world is. And if
Yeah.
people want to connect with you and get your
Hmm.
advice or anything like that, like how do they get to that? Like how what kind, yeah, social media, LinkedIn, like what where they go for that?
Probably the easiest is LinkedIn.
Mhm.
It's Christopher Rux, RUX. If you reach out that way, then we'll figure out a way to contact, chat other than LinkedIn messaging if needed. Um,
Mhm.
but I will say this. I mean, I think you know this, but I'm open anytime. Happy to share my perspective. understanding that it's purely my perspective,
Yeah.
and that everyone, at the end of the day, has to develop their own in order to succeed, right? I think we talked about earlier. You can see how everybody else does it, but you got to make things your own.
Exactly.
Otherwise, it's not going to stick. You're just following somebody else.
Exactly.
So yeah, man. So it's a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
No, I'm glad you were here, and I hope to see you on in the future. Maybe we'll do like I said, we'll have that podcast that really is showing
Let's
about
do it.
the nuances of everything and all those random tax codes and
Oh yeah. Oh, everybody needs a nap. Let's go. Let's talk about tax
exactly.
code. Um, happy to, and so long as I get my phone a friend when I don't know the answer.
Hey, it's all we care for, right?
Yeah, man.
Accuracy is better than anything. Well, thank you very much, and I hope you have a great day.
Absolutely. You as well.
Thanks for listening to the Pathways to Prosperity podcast. Got a success story to share? Visit pathwaystoprosperitypodcast.com/guest and apply today.